Gentlemen, welcome. Very excited to chat with you this morning.
Thank you, Chike. Very excited to be here. Hi, Nick.
Hi, good morning. Same here. Looking forward to it.
Well, good. Well, I think one of the things that, as we have this conversation in, September 2020, we've had, a number of months with the backdrop of a global pandemic. But I think one of the things that, we also understand is that while there has been, lots of disruption and challenge and so on over the past few months, a lot of people want to look forward, right? Looking forward to something that's a little bit uncertain, but they still want to look forward, especially if you're a business owner, you're an SME, and you're thinking about 2021 and beyond. So I think a good place to start is just to kind of, dive in a little bit to get some of your perspectives on where you see things going. Nick, I'd like to start with you because you're at IBM, you're in the US, operating out in New York, and so you have a particular perspective. You've seen a lot going on with cloud, with technology, that sort of thing. So would love a lens from you, sort of at sort of the higher global altitude, and then be great if you could hone in on how you see that impacting the Caribbean region a little bit.
Fantastic. Sounds good, Chike. So if you look at the lens of the pandemic and what the pandemic has implied for enterprises, I think it varies when you transition from a traditional SMB, if you will, small, medium business, and you go to a large scale traditional enterprise. If you look at stats from various research organizations, roughly 20% or so of workloads within that traditional enterprise lens, large banks, insurance companies, retail companies, and so on, have moved to the cloud. And that inhibition, that lethargy, if you will, that remaining 80% is due to a variety of reasons, from regulatory to inertia, security and compliance obviously is the big one, technical debt that a given organization might have around their application stack. So what it has forced, in a good way, in my view, right, given the experience I've had working in this domain for many years, is somewhat of an accelerated view. Those enterprises were already looking at this, but their fragmentation has made that a difficult challenge. And they're putting more energy, if you will, to accelerate such a move to cloud. And that takes on quite a wide spectrum when you look at that. Now, zeroing in on Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, I think you can apply a similar lens, right? We have many traditional enterprises, right? Derwin and his colleagues represent one of the premier financial institutions of the region. And there are many others for that matter. So wrapping, collective heads around what it means to get workloads to cloud, or making sure they're secure, making sure they're compliant, making sure they're available, and you don't suffer adverse consequences, which the technology, of course, has come a long way over the past 15 years, is clearly what needs to be looked at. And then when you look at those born on the cloud companies, we see a flourishing there as well. So whether it be online retail transaction, whether it be online bill payment, and then the rise of those shared economy platforms, e-commerce platforms within the region, I certainly expect those to take off as well.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting perspective. And Derwin, I'm going to kind of throw it to you. But kind of going back to one of the things you said, I mean, I do recall, certainly I'm in Seattle, also working in cloud software with one of my hats on. And Satya Nadella made that, really interesting quote a few months ago that, Microsoft had seen and companies like Microsoft had seen, 2 years of digital adoption in 2 months, almost by force. And so, so that's really an interesting part in terms of, as you said, the balance between the born in the cloud, or the companies that are smaller, a little bit more agile, more comfortable with technology, and the companies that may be a little bit larger, a little bit, more sort of, thorough and sort of slower decision making, and they've also, everyone has had to jump. So they're really interested to get your perspective on that. One, would be good to hear from you first with a Republic Bank lens. How has this situation, led you to rethink innovation and acceleration from the bank's standpoint? And then would love you to add a perspective in terms of what you've seen from other businesses, large and small, in the region.
Okay, thanks, Chike. we have been looking at cloud for some time and have dabbled in it, if you want to call it that. Obviously, with any new technology, you sort of dip your toes in the water and then you move on. But the good thing is we have been playing and had been playing with it or in it before the start of the pandemic. So we were able to jump in and I guess realize some of the benefits of it to help us continue to operate and serve our customers and interact with our staff. I mean, we have adopted fully, remote technology in terms of Teams and using that as an enterprise-wide means of communication. Some of our applications exist in the cloud, and certainly, as you said, we were not born in the cloud. I don't know if there are many banks that are born in the cloud that have taken to the cloud in that real way, but certainly it has accelerated our use of the cloud infrastructure in terms of running the business, in terms of keeping connects as management among ourselves and with our customers. And so you're seeing certainly swift adoption, where you may have had a certain look at the risk, certainly you've accelerated or that understanding of the risk and modified your view of the risk as you move into it, and allowed that to be your platform for serving, as I said, internally as well as your customers. As it relates to, I guess, innovation and seeing what other businesses are doing, we are in fact seeing other businesses adopt that level of flexibility, that level of innovation, I guess, as you call it, in terms of dealing with the cloud. It's simply a situation where you have to jump in. I mean, the speed at which you jump in is up to you, but the reality that you're going to face is if you don't jump in, your business is going to be at risk. And the risk sort of continuum now sort of drops off precipitously. Prior to this, risk was a continuum. You could fail. Now you're getting to the stage where there's a very little track you run until you just drop off. And that, I think, is what is causing a lot of businesses to take decisions in a much quicker way than they would have prior to the pandemic.